Warning, playing FPL is highly addictive. It may cause stress, a loss of free time, a resentment towards friends or colleagues, and a dislike to football in general. Please, FPL responsibly. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Fixture Watch, the series that allows you to stay one step ahead of the FPL by looking at which teams have the best or worst run of fixtures over the next 4 game weeks. As always, if you are enjoying the series, please consider supporting FPL TV by dropping a like on the video and subscribing to stay tuned for more FPL content. The first team with good fixtures from game week 27 onwards is Liverpool. Following a tough fixture against Tottenham now out of the way, things get considerably easier for Liverpool. They first face an away trip to Southampton before back-to-back home games against West Ham and Newcastle. At this point we all know that Mohamed Salah is an absolute must-have, so not much needs to be said about him, but some managers may be getting frustrated with the likes of Roberto Firmino, who's only returned 2 goals in his last 6 games. This nice run of fixtures suggests that remaining patient with the Brazilian striker could be a sensible move, as he's surely going to pick up some points in these next few games. Liverpool do face a tricky away trip to Manchester United in game week 30, but this is just one of only 2 games left in all of Liverpool's remaining fixtures that are against the league's top 6. So after that one difficult game, Liverpool's run of fixtures still look very, very good. The only drawback is their Champions League game just 3 days after Southampton, which could see reduced minutes for their star players. A team on the other end of the fixture difficulty scale is Arsenal. After their scintillating 5-goal display against Everton in game week 26, many managers are flocking towards new signings Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang, who are currently the 2 most transferred in players for game week 27. And understandably so, with both players seriously impressing on their home debuts, and Mkhitaryan especially looking excellent value for money. However, before jumping on these players too quickly, it may be worth having a second thought once considering Arsenal's next 2 fixtures. The Gunners next play Tottenham away and then Manchester City at home, and it's difficult to know which Arsenal are going to turn up in these massive games. It's also important to note that they play a League Cup final against Man City in between these 2 difficult fixtures, so Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang could both be facing some rest time for that game as well. Bringing these players in now is certainly no mistake and could very well pay off. But for me personally, I think I'll be holding out for 2 more game weeks once Arsenal's fixtures take a huge turn for the good and they face 7 consecutive games against lower league opposition. The second team with a positive run of games is Swansea City, who have been transformed under the new manager and look a very different side recently. With this nice run of games to come, Swansea offer some very affordable options, which can then allow you to upgrade your team in other areas. Budget forward Jordan Ayew has scored 4 goals in 8 games, which you simply can't argue with when considering his bargain price of 5.3 million. With Wilfred Boney injured and out for the season, this can only cement Jordan Ayew's place in the team. They don't really have any go-to players in midfield, but new signing Andre Ayew, who is a player who can play up front but is classed as a midfielder, could be a very interesting option for anyone who likes a gamble. Very expensive at 6.8 million and still an injury doubt at the moment, but certainly an interesting option should he be past fit, especially if he's played further forward. Crystal Palace are not a popular team for FPL managers this season, but even so, it's worth noting that their run of games looks extremely difficult over the next few game weeks. Following a trip to Everton, which isn't too bad, they then play Tottenham, United and Chelsea, so it could be wise to ignore any Palace players, especially after the Everton game. Mamadou Sakho returned from injury in their last game, and at 4.7 million he does offer very good value, but there's no point considering him at the moment with this tough run of games to come. Wilfred Zaha at 6.9 million is looking extremely expensive at the moment, with no goals in his last 8 games, so if you are an owner, perhaps it's time to seek an alternative after the Everton game. Their budget midfielder Milivojevic has 4 goals in his last 8 games, 2 penalties and 2 from open play, so he's perhaps the only feasible option during this difficult run. At his minuscule price of 4.7 million, at the very least, he's a decent budget option to have on your bench. A team with a very attractive 4 games on paper is 7th placed Burnley. Following 3 straight defeats, they've now grinded out 2 draws in the last 2 game weeks, including a very hard-fought point against league leaders Man City last time out. They are one of the league's lowest scorers, so they're not a team I'd be looking at for attacking FPL options. However, Burnley's defensive record is not to be ignored, boasting the 4th best defence this season, with just 23 goals conceded in 26 games. Only Man City, Man United and Chelsea boast better records defensively. They are without a clean sheet in their last 5, but within those games they've played Liverpool, United and Man City, so perhaps with a nicer run of games to come, clean sheets could be back on the table. Ben Mee is a very good defensive option. He's yet to score a goal this season, but has produced many goal attempts from set pieces. And perhaps their very best option is their bargain goalkeeper Nick Pope, who despite conceding in both of the last 2 games, has still managed to pick up an incredible 16 points from those. He's been one of the bargains of the season and could be one to consider with this nice run of games to come. And lastly for this week's fixture watch, it's Manchester City, who have a very mixed bag of fixtures over the next 4 game weeks. Now, Man City have been so good this season, it almost doesn't matter what their fixtures are. I myself own 3 Man City players, but the concern is how thick and fast these fixtures are coming, with Man City still remaining in all 4 competitions. Following what looks to be a very nice fixture at home to Leicester, they then play Basel away in the Champions League just 3 days later. Their next 2 Premier League games are much more trickier, against Arsenal and Chelsea, and they're just within 3 days of each other, before another Champions League game just 3 days after those. This is without mentioning a 5th round FA Cup game and a Carabao Cup final against Arsenal, all within this time. So no matter how good Man City have been this season, you can't help but be slightly concerned by this crazy schedule of fixtures, and the threat of rotation that this poses. It's a scary prospect transferring out City players, but with rotation likely and Gabriel Jesus soon to return, it could now be a good time to seek some players with a less strenuous fixture list. And that wraps up Game Week 27's Fixture Watch. With Champions League football returning, hopefully this has shed some light on a few teams and given you food for thought on your FPL transfer dealings. Be sure as always to drop a like if you found it informative and would like to see it more. By commenting, liking and subscribing, you're really helping to support this channel, so they're all greatly appreciated. Until next time guys, FPL responsibly.